Welcome back to the Slide Job Podcast. I'm your host, Colton Smith, here joined by producer Josh Northcutt, who does not have a camera today. We'll have a photo up in place for him in replacement of that. And we have a new co-host today, Brandon Bull Davis. Brandon, welcome to the podcast. Bull, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Can't wait to do it. Been looking forward to this for a while.
Yeah, it's always nice to talk about NASCAR, and we're glad to share that with you here today. Let's just go ahead and get right into this because this Atlanta race was extremely exciting from start to finish. It started out kind of like that Daytona 500 start, just kind of Penske domination, really. And the Penske domination pretty well stayed throughout the race there. And the added one in there was Josh Berry, which kind of reminded me of the days of Matt DiBenedetto and Blaney running in that 21, where you saw the 21 running up with Logano, with Cindric, with Blaney now. And seeing Josh Berry kind of fill that role was nice. And he even won the first stage. We did see some in the second stage, some movement around, but Penske, no matter what happened, they always found their way back up to the front. Blaney had a bad fast car. Cindric probably had the fastest, but Logano ended up leading the most amount of laps that race. So that, despite all of that, we had the end of stage 2. I think that's when there was a caution that kind of split up the field. Penske went in, so they would have the advantage towards the end of the stage, and then Larson ended up getting the win on that stage. Josh kind of predicted that one where Larson had a chip on his shoulder, and he ran up front for a lot of this race. And then throughout the third stage, it was just chaos. But once again, Penske found themselves up front. I believe it was Larson, Cindric, and Byron were up there, all up 1, 2, 3. Blaney, Logano, and Berry all around somewhere in there. And then Larson's spotter cleared him. He was very much, in fact, not clear. And Cindric, unfortunately, was I almost said beneficiary, but far from it. Of that. So and then that ended up opening up the door for a Larson, Christopher Bell out of nowhere, and Carson Hocevar, which I'm sure we'll have some discussions about him to finish the race. A caution came out, very controversial caution at that. So but the winner would end up being Christopher Bell, the only Toyota to lead a lap all day long. But enough rambling from me. Bull, I'll let you get started. What did you think about this race?
I mean, that was Cindric's race to win. He has been up front all day. He deserved that win. That was he got screwed, to put it simple. It was his race to win. Like you said, Penske had dominated all day. He deserved it. He just got wrong place, wrong time. In that third stage, we got the split field strategy. Got different cars in the front, back, people all over the place. And Cindric just got left in no man's land. Larson got cleared, like you said, and he was not clear. He got and spun Cindric, and that pretty much ended it for him. But that was his race to win. He should have won that race from the start. It was his race to win.
Yeah, I mean, he started in second and ended up getting that lead from the get-go and held it pretty handedly. So I agree. Josh, what did you think?
Overall, one of the most exciting races. Yet again, Atlanta delivers. Little, obviously disappointing for Cindric. Not so much because of our fantasy situation, which looked like it was going to be the nightmare, Colton, of Cindric winning and getting Ben his bonus points.
That was a 50-point swing and one misclearing of Larson for Ben. We can't let that happen again.
Yeah. So we definitely won't make that mistake again. But all in all, I definitely believe the race delivered. And somehow, some way, Christopher Bell, who openly admitted he's like, I'm not exactly the best at super speedway, but I love super speedway racing. Came out on top.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you think about Bell, he played it safe all day. He was nowhere near the front until the last 30 laps.
That's a lot of Toyotas.
And just came out of nowhere.
That's our group chat. Colton was calling out all of Gibbs because Gibbs wasn't up there. It was 23-11. Reddick and Bubba were kind of but even them, they really weren't up in the top 5 the entire time. So yeah, out of nowhere, Bell just did what needs to be done in super speed racing, and the reason why Colton hates it is kind of lucked into another one.
I don't hate this. We need this at Daytona and Talladega. Like I would not complain as much about what we saw at Daytona if I was seeing this there. I know it's two completely different things, new repave at Daytona, but this reminds me of the old Daytona, which everyone fell in love with. But what I found so interesting about this race is you had 3 manufacturers come with different strategies. Ford had the speed in qualifying and the race. They had the fastest flat out cars. Now they get stuck in traffic. They have some issues, except for Penske. They just found their way. But you had Chevy come with speed and a little bit of handling. But their issue was they couldn't work together worth of crap. I mean, Ross Chastain, Larson, Byron, Busch, none of them, they would just all go for the pass. And then you had Toyota. They came with the more handling, not so much speed. And they really sat around, with the exception of Reddick and Wallace. They were in the top 10 all day. But Hamlin, Bell, all just sitting around that 15th, 20th, maybe the occasional top 10 appearance, but didn't really stick until the end. You saw Hamlin work his way up into, I think, a 6th place finish. You saw Bubba get a 9th place. But it was funny enough, they both had chances in the top 5, and they both kind of hit the wall and fell back. But yeah, it was interesting to see those 3 manufacturers all come with different ideas of how to run this race, and really any one of them could have worked in the end.
And I think that's what makes Atlanta great is you had 3 different strategies, and then if you look at the results of the top 10, all 3 strategies worked out in the end.
Yeah.
Well, I thought Ford only ended up having one team or one driver in the top 10, or was it one in the top 5?
It probably was top 5. I can look up the results here really quick.
Yeah, because I know Logano fell back. Cindric actually got caught up in that wreck, and I believe Barry did as well.
Blaney got 4th, and yeah, Blaney was the only Ford in the top 10. But then you got Zane Smith and Logano just outside in 11th and 12th. But I see your point. I mean, it was like 8 probably at some point in the race, Fords, and it only ended up being 1 in the top 10.
I was gonna say when that race started, it was literally 4 Fords to start. And then I think it was the Toyota of Bubba, and then it was like 3 more Fords. It was absolutely looking like a Ford day, as Colton E wanted to call
it. Yeah. I was getting shades of SHR back at Dega in 2018. I probably texted that, and it was that, but definitely that one was just complete domination. At least there was, and they didn't end up winning. Bell got the win, but I was going to briefly go through this top 10. Bell got 1st. We mentioned Hocevar in 2nd, Larson 3rd, Ryan Blaney in 4th, Stenhouse 40, or not the 47th, but 5th, Hamlin in 6th, Busch 7th, Chastain in 8th, Bubba Wallace in 9th, and then John Hunter Nemechek gets back-to-back top 10s to start the season. Zane Smith snuck in to 11th, Logano in 12th as well. But I think Carson Hocevar is probably the biggest talking point outside of he was a part of the finish, but outside of the controversial finish. What are your guys' thoughts? And I'll start with you, Bull. What are your thoughts on his day? Because he started at the rear and made some aggressive moves to get up front and to stay up front throughout the race. And it worked out in his favor. Had a very much chance to get that win.
He hit everything but the pace car on the way up to the front. It kind of leads into my overreaction, but he did not deserve to finish second. If he doesn't get a penalty, there's something wrong. He's already got 1 rough driving penalty. Back in 2024, he got docked 25 points and $50,000 for rough driving. And just like Atlanta, he hit everything but the pace car. And after the race, I think it was with Bob Pockris, he said that we're not here to make friends. We're here to win races. Well, that doesn't mean hit everybody. At one point it becomes a safety issue. I know that's a big talking point in the industry right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. You see a lot of other guys out there passing, working their way up, and not hitting everybody as they're working their way up. There's a difference in rubbing and just flat out being stupid.
Yeah. No, I would care to agree. He typically rides that line. He went on the complete opposite end of that line today, and he made some friends though. I mean, everyone was lined up to talk to him after the race.
That's
Maybe not so much friends.
that's what I was gonna say. I mean, who doesn't want to sit down and talk to Chastain and Ryan Blaney, and then potentially Kyle Busch tried to and was
I'm
kind of
sure.
hinted towards NASCAR. We don't need to see that right now. I mean, who
Yeah.
doesn't want to talk to those superstar drivers? I want to sit down and talk to them, but I mean, Hocevar just had them lined up.
Seeing Chastain like what 2 years after having like half the field talk to him when he first got into the one, now talking to Hocevar is really just a full circle moment to me.
I
The
will say
Chastain.
what. Sorry to cut you off, Bull. What I will say was kind of funny though. The only person he apologized to was the one person he didn't need to apologize to, and he apologized to Kyle Larson because he wants that ride when Kyle finally retires. So of course he apologized to Papa Hendricks, Papa's the number one
Well,
driver.
you saw what happened to Trackhouse. He sent them to the shadow realm because of what he did to Larson. So, what were you going to say, Bull?
The Chastain Hamlin thing a couple years ago, that was hilarious. That was great. And then now seeing Chastain with Hocevar, that cracks me up. I mean, it's I can't even believe that we got Chastain talking to other drivers about reckless driving.
Yeah.
What
I mean,
I
what
did,
does it come to?
what I did read though was apparently Chastain's kind of his mentor, which, if true, explains a
His mic went muted, but I think I know where he was going with that. Explains a lot about Hocevar. He's like, "Hey, man, that's my thing, not yours." But one thing I did want to bring up before we move on is the Fast Five results. I did post it onto my Twitter, but Ben keeps a hold of his lead with 64 points. We don't have it on here, but I'll post it I'll put it up there in post. He has 64 points to his name right now, and it holds the lead just a couple points more than me. But Josh was the real winner. He goes from 23 points back. Now just 4 points back of Ben in second place with 60. Heck of a day from Larson and Blaney. Chastain also got a top 10, getting you a lot of points there. And then I'm lagging back in third place, 52 points. Had a chance there. If Bowman was running where he ran most of the race, got him a top 10, top 15, would have been much closer, but still solid. I got four people in the top 20. So, but Josh, you want to talk about your flip of a week?
Yeah, I just think you need to apologize to Mr. Ross Chastain. I don't remember if it was on air or off air, but
I
you
said
told
he
me that
wasn't going
man
to win,
had
and he
no chance.
didn't win.
You said he had no chance of winning, and I mean, he did. That
He
dude
didn't
was
win, did he?
right there. No, he didn't win. He did not win.
He finished eighth.
But man, I mean, that what a performance by. I mean, when I looked at my team and I look back at it, I know Colton always makes fun of me because I'm a number guy. I love analytics and numbers. And my first three picks were, well, two of my first three picks were based off the numbers. Blaney and Chastain were the two best drivers at Atlanta since the scheme change of the track. And then Chase Elliott was just a stab in the back, which, ironically enough, I think was my worst driver, just so I could
Nah,
get Colton upset. So, all in all, I mean, I'll take it. When I had all three of those guys at one point, 1, 2, and 3, I'm like, I need to get a bonus point for this if that's what happens. And then, of
yeah,
course,
that's fair.
Hocevar tries to run through Blaney and cost him his race there. But oh no, I'm very happy with my spot, and I'll have my numbers ready for the draft on Friday.
Yep. I did a little more research than I did the first 2 weeks, so we'll see how that plays out. But one thing I do want to mention with Blaney, he went to the rear very late in the race, but those fresh tires make a difference, which is not something you see at that of Talladega or Daytona really at all. I mean, that dude charged through the field. I think he had about 20 laps to do so, and then a caution came out to help him, get the field back together. But that's the other interesting part about Atlanta is that tires do matter. And if you can time a pit stop at the right time where maybe some people stay out, other people, or you go down and pit, you can stand to gain from that.
How often is it we get to say that tires actually matter anymore? I mean,
Yeah.
that's phenomenal. We actually get to, for a race this early in the season, we get to say that tires mattered. I mean, just
Mhm.
like you were mentioning, Blaney came flying back through the field after with those fresh tires.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
went from Team Hocevar getting a better job earlier in the race to when he wrecked Blaney. I wanted to run him off the track to watching Blaney get right back up there and no longer hating Hocevar.
That helps, doesn't it? But yeah, I mean, it's like you can visibly see how much harder these cars are to drive towards the end of the run as opposed to the beginning of the run. And that's what really makes Atlanta special. And I wish we saw that at more tracks. Really, Bristol, that Bristol race is the only other one I can think of. And I love that race. I wish I was there for that race. I did end up going to a Bristol race, but it wasn't as crazy as that first one. But hopefully this is maybe a sign. Goodyear will maybe take it, but I'll believe it when I see it. Moving along, though, we're going to do fly the flag. Since Josh doesn't have a camera today, I'm going to go ahead and take it over. The first one I have here, no question, Penske and Ford will dominate this season. Bull, get us started.
I'm going to say red flag. If you look back last year, at this time last year, even a couple races further, everybody was saying the Fords were dead. They were not doing good. And what ended up happening? They ended up winning the championship. It goes in spurts. They may win a couple more races this year. They probably will, but you can't ever count out Gibbs and Hendrick. You can't count those out, especially when we get to the mile and a half, like Kansas, Charlotte. You can't count out the Toyotas. So I'm going to say red flag.
I'll go yellow. They'll still have their dominant tracks. It's part of the way of racing. But like Bull said, also Toyota's got their tracks. Um, Chevy's got their tracks. Those drivers on the road courses always have their tracks, which we're about to enter an SVG land type weekend. So it's one of those things where it's not going to be full Penske. And I also kind of mentioned it in our pre-show or prediction show that I think there's going to be more drivers than ever to come up with a race. So no, Penske will not dominate.
Yeah, you got a long ways to get there, but so far, 2 of the 20 that you predicted. So
2-0, just no repeat winner. That's all.
Yeah, but the interesting thing about that is you have 2 top tier drivers that won at super speedway. So you're not getting the wild card super speedway wins that you would need for that.
Yeah, that did hurt because Byron's probably going to win another race and Bell will find his way back up top to win another race. I predicted, so it's okay. It's okay. I still got hope.
For me, I'm going with Josh on the yellow flag. I think Penske or Ford, they seem really fast, and I think they could potentially dominate. But yeah, you definitely got to keep. It's 2 races. That's more of an overreaction than maybe a trivia or whatever question. But here's the second fly the flag. Atlanta is the best drafting track in NASCAR. Bull, I'll let you start.
I can't wave the green flag hard enough. I mean, it's phenomenal. I know we got Daytona, the 500, and the prestige with that race, but give me Atlanta all day, every day. The mix of racing that we had, drivers were able to make moves, tires mattered. You still had the drafting. It was phenomenal.
Josh?
I mean, Bull said it best. I'm flying that green flag just as hard as he is. But I mean, I'll go as far as to say, outside maybe Kansas, Atlanta's the best track in NASCAR. That racing was so much fun. Had it not been for that accident, we were getting another three-man finish, potentially 4, because Blaney was coming up. Can you imagine if that would have gone 4 wide across the finish line? it just so yeah, I agree.
Yep, I'm waving that green flag. By far the best drafting track, and yeah, a top. I don't know if it's second for me, but it's definitely in that top 3, top 5 category, and maybe a couple races down the line, it could enter that category. But last one, I think I have a feeling I know an answer on this one, but Hocevar is a menace that needs to be stopped. Bull, I'll let you start again.
I got to go the green flag again. Like I said earlier, he's already got 1 rough driving penalty. you got to stop it before it gets out of hand.
Josh?
I'm going to go ahead and just throw the red flag. He's a young driver who maybe is a little bit hectic, but you know who we said this about before? We said it about Kyle F. and Bush. We have said it about Ross Chastain. We can go all the way back to my youth, and we said it about Dale. All these guys have had those tempers and trying to learn their car and their skills and stuff like that. So, yeah, maybe they need to work with them a little bit. Like, hey, this is the proper way of bumping. But all in all, the man's out there trying to win a race. Didn't exactly go about the right way, but I don't think he's a menace. We always have drivers like this.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the comparison, I was going to make the comparison of I watched Kyle Busch and Ron Hornaday Jr. Do a thing back in the Truck Series, like in like 2009 or early 2010s. So after seeing that, I'm really unfazed by aggressive driving. But all in all, I understand. He definitely needs to be stopped. He needs to be slowed down. But I don't know if he's a menace yet, but we'll see. There's a lot of season left for him to become that, though. But Bull, you said your overreaction was going to be kind of connected to Hocevar, so I'll let you start with our overreactions, bringing at least one overreaction from the Atlanta race.
Yeah, like I said, 2024, 25 points, 50,000 for rough driving. If you go back to the Truck Series at the Indianapolis short track, he got a penalty there for rough driving, right hooked somebody, and that was just a short track. Now we're racing mile and a half, 2 mile tracks. You can't have that going 180 mile an hour and right hooking somebody into a wall. Something's got to be done. So my overreaction is there's got to be something done. He needs a penalty.
Oh, you've gone soft in fatherhood. Anyway, for me, I believe the overreaction is Austin Cindric is going to be the best car of the three Penske's. I believe Austin Cindric, and I am buying the hype. I am now putting him in my final four over Blaney.
Next thing you know, he's going to say John Hunter Nemechek is a playoff driver. Okay, no response. I was going to see if we got a response from that, but no, actually, my overreaction is John Hunter Nemechek's going to be a playoff driver. So that's what I was alluding to. I think John Hunter Nemechek is an incredibly talented driver. I actually on this channel I've made multiple videos stating that. I think he just needs an opportunity. I like the speed Legacy has brought so far. He was kind of like in the Hocevar category of being an aggressive driver, and he probably still has that in him. But I see a little more calmness or coolness from Hunter Nemechek, not trying to force the issue as much as he did in recent years. So 2 races in, heck, give me John Hunter Nemechek as a playoff driver. And seeing him and Jones go at it at Legacy for who's the better driver will be, I think, an interesting battle throughout the year because those are 2 incredibly talented drivers that should be driving.
They threw out a stat that said JHN was actually the most accident-prone driver last year. And now to get through 2 heavy races where you have a ton of accidents and not get involved, maybe you're right. Maybe he's finding his gaps, learning from his past mistakes, and he could be a driver to surprise when playoff time rolls around.
All right, so now we're going to go to our power rankings for this week. Getting our top 5 on the power rankings. Mine looks pretty similar, but there's definitely some movement. Bull, since this is your first power rankings, I'll go ahead and let you reveal yours.
I'm going to start number 5. I got Reddick, Byron, Larson, Bell, and Blaney. And I got to put out an honorable mention for my man Hamlin at 6. I think he will move up into the top 5. I just think with that new crew chief he got, I don't think he was happy about that in the off season. But I think once they get gelled together, I think he'll be up there. But Reddick, we're getting ready to go into road courses, mile and a half, short tracks. I think he's going to hold that spot for a while.
Yeah. I have Reddick as my honorable mention just because he finished 19th. But he's definitely gearing up for a run here, I think, personally. He's actually 3rd in points even despite that finish. So A lot of it, I know stage points was really big in the points for these first two races, because Bowman, despite finishing in like 26th, he's still in ninth place. So stage points is very huge this early, and there's some other opportunities for points people got. But for my power rankings, my top five, I got the 20 of Christopher Bell coming off a win at Atlanta at a track, type of track that he hasn't had the most success at. I think that's, definitely a very validating thing. And I think that's perfect momentum. He's a great road course driver. So I think that's the perfect momentum going into COTA that he needed to get a great finish. And I think he's always kind of one of these guys that gets great starts to the year, usually struggles at the super speedways and then gets those great starts. But now he's had two decent finishes, and hey, maybe he'll get another win, go back to back. We'll see. But he's currently fifth for me. I got Logano. He hasn't had the finishes, but he's led the most laps in the Cup Series to this point. So it's hard to go against him at number 4. I then have Austin Cindric in third. If he won this race, he'd probably be in first. Led a lot of laps. If he didn't wreck out, probably would have led the most laps. And I think Cindric is showing a lot of speed. We've known he's great at the super speedways. He was outstanding at the road courses in the Xfinity Series. He hasn't been as stellar, but he's still been great at the road courses in the Cup Series. This is his time to show that he is taking the next step in his career and get a top 10, top 5. I'm not asking for a win yet. He's got a couple of those in his career. Just consistent. Get in the playoffs on points, and you get some wins on the outside of that as well. But I want to see the consistency out of Cindric. That's what I haven't seen. And so far, through the first two races, it's there. But Byron, your Daytona 500 champion, is at number 2 for me. Didn't get the finish, but he was right up there at the end. So I think that's definitely telling. And then I have Ryan Blaney at number 1. He's currently leading the point standings. He's got 2. Only driver in the Cup Series, or one of few drivers, other than I think John Hunter Nemechek's the only other one with 2 top 10s on the year. So that's a pretty impressive stat to start off. And does he keep that streak going at COTA? We'll have to wait and see. Josh?
All right, here's where Colton yells at me for saying not to take the actual events into place. But number 5 for me is JHN. As you mentioned, one of 2 drivers with 2 top 10 finishes. Hey, he can say it. Nobody else can outside Blaney. So he makes my top 5. Number 4, I'm going to go ahead and go, I believe Kyle Larson would be fair to say. Showed a little bit of stuff, still not quite there, but that was a confidence building run at Atlanta for the super speedway racing. Now you go to a road course where he's not exactly the best, but he's definitely not the worst. So he can pull off some wins there. Number 3, I will go Ryan Blaney. Top 5, top 10 finishes. Looked really, really, really dominant. However, not able to find wins. So I'm going to add a little bit there. You do need to win and also get numbers. So I will not have him at 1 or 2. Number 2 will be Christopher Bell. And then number 1, Daytona still holds the precedent, William Byron.
That's fair enough. And the thing about Byron, Blaney's not the greatest of road course racers, but I think in Byron, Bell, and we were talking about Reddick, I think those are all really great road course racers. So they could easily, Byron could keep his spot at the top for you and probably retake the spot at the top for me if he's able to get a great finish at COTA. But so there are power rankings. Is there anything else that you guys would like to talk about before we wrap up the show? Any talking points or stuff you want to talk about the race?
Yeah, I got to bring up, like Josh was mentioning, the cautions. I mean,
yes.
The cautions are ridiculous. So dating back to Daytona, if I remember correctly, it was duel 2. They threw the caution on the final lap. And then the Daytona 500, they let it play out, and it was phenomenal. And then if you go back to Atlanta, they threw the caution again and ruined what could be a 3-4 wide finish, a phenomenal finish of what was a great race. What are we doing? There should be no race finish under yellow. There should be no race finish under yellow. What are we doing? We came to race. Let's race.
Yeah. I feel like this is a scenario completely created by NASCAR in themselves. I mean, the old system was you raced to the line after the caution, and I don't really see what is wrong with that. And then there's also the scenario that we had where we just immediately call a caution the second there was a wreck, and that always stirred up some controversy. But at the end of the day, at least it was somewhat consistent. Not always consistent of when they called it, or they didn't necessarily do it right when it happened. Daytona 500 last year. So there was some inconsistencies. There's complaints for sure. But then this year they were like, hold up. We saw what we did at the duel. We'll hold the button. We'll hold the button back. Okay, whatever. But there wasn't really any like finish to happen. Byron had the lead by far. And then we get to Atlanta, where there's actually a 3-wide finish. Josh said potentially 4-wide finish brewing, and they're sitting right here. They got the button right here, and they go immediately, like no waiting at all. And apparently it has something to do with safety. And if that is the case, I'm fine with it. Just be consistent with it and be true with it. And they did say either this morning or the morning of or the night after the Xfinity race, they had a similar scenario. And I don't know, there was safe. But they like to throw that word safety around and kind of use it as a way to manipulate the race sometimes, I feel like. And it is frustrating. It's frustrating. I get that. And I'm glad you brought that up, because we were going to talk about that in the lead in, and then we got sidetracked with other stuff. Because that's definitely a huge talking point right now in NASCAR. And all I'm saying is, if this is how it's going to be, just stick with it. Don't go back and forth. Stick with it for the eternity or until you make a change to another system. And then in that case, just be consistent. Make it known and be consistent.
If they didn't throw that caution, Hocevar was winning that race. Can you imagine him getting rewarded for all of that and winning the race?
Like, I would have felt happy about it, because that would have been a surprising driver, and it would have made my prediction feel a lot better.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that's a great point. Like, rewarding, it's like Dylan winning at Daytona after absolutely hooking Almirola.
Still didn't hook him.
We watched different races.
Josh.
It's not like I wore a 3 T-shirt on that Monday after Colton went on a rant about how stupid Austin Dillon was.
You sure did.
He was going to be upset about me wearing a T-shirt that
I
said
mean,
Austin Dillon.
Anybody that willingly like wears a shirt of a man-child deserves to be made fun of. I mean, it's just.
But I think Colton said it best. It does need to be consistent. But my issue with the safety is, if that's the final lap, aren't they going to be slowing down by the time they get to that back stretch anyway? Like, they're not racing back to that spot. It's not like it's Bristol. They've got a mile to go around the track before they hit that point. Let these guys race back to the line and don't steal another photo finish, historic finish. That's my only complaint. But Colton, I agree 100%. If you're going to do it, it needs to be this way every week, and then we'll all adapt to it and we'll all move on from there.
And I agree with what you're saying, Josh. If they're not racing back to where the wreck was, if the wreck was in turn 1 on the final lap, yeah, okay, maybe you have to throw a caution. But if the wreck's in turn 3, turn 4, let them race around. Let them race back to the finish line, get that finish. I mean, they're still talking about the 3-wide finish from last year between Busch, Blaney, and Suarez.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be talked about forever. That's one of the best finishes I've ever seen, as the sun is really coming in on my my screen. I just realized I look like I'm in the heavens right now. But yeah, it's an incredible finish, and that would have been a finish right up there with it, the way it was playing out. And it's a shame that we got robbed of it. I agree with that. If I was NASCAR, if I was the ruler of NASCAR, I didn't have any other information about the scenario. That's what I thought. They must have something that we don't know, or they really want to keep it in their hands, I guess. I don't know. It's frustrating though.
All right. So one more question before my phone dies. We're going to put you on the spot, Bull. Bull, Coda is this weekend. I need your
I want to shut my door 1 second.
Did you get that, Bull?
Say that again, Josh.
I apologize. I said Coda is this weekend. We
Mhm.
need your prediction for Coda. Who is coming out and winning the race?
Michael Jordan in the number 45 and Tyler Reddick is heading to victory lane.
Hey, you might have took the words right out of my mouth. I'm not gonna lie. The way he's looking so far, I guess I maybe gave away. There's still a week for me to change my mind, but I really like that pick. I've seen rumors, and these are Twitter had a day of Michael Jordan driving for 23XI because they were making that announcement on Saturday. I think Corey Haim ended up being the announcement. They're like, Michael Jordan's going to drive the 30 or whatever car. So I thought when you first said that, I thought you were going to say he was going to win it. But yeah, that's a great pick. But is there any last thoughts? Before we head out? Anything you want to get out?
I'm good here.
All right.
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. It's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to have you back whenever you can get on, man. It was a great time having you on, and yeah, you were great.
Thanks. Anytime you need somebody, just let me know. I'm always ready.
All right, we'll hold you to that. We'll hold you to that for sure. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the show. Thank you all for listening. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at LFC__99 for me, at JNorth1989 for Josh, and then Bull. What is your Twitter or whatever you would like to plug?
Honestly, I don't even know what my Twitter is right offhand.
All right, that's probably for the best. Who needs Twitter anyway? It's a dark place. But yeah, thank you all for watching. We'll see you all in the next one. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. Leave a like. We'll see you guys Friday for our preview of the Coda race. Peace.